All right, today we're diving into a fascinating home remedy that's been making the rounds online, one that claims to help with men's performance. We're going to break down what the issue is, the two simple ingredients it uses, and exactly how it's supposed to work. Now, just a quick heads up, this is all for informational purposes. You should always talk to a doctor for any real medical advice.
So the source material doesn't waste any time, does it? It jumps right in with two very direct questions that really get to the core of a problem a lot of men face but don't talk about. It's designed to grab your attention and shift the focus from feeling ashamed to actually looking for a solution.
And that's the whole point of this first section. The big idea here is to reframe this issue. It's not something to be embarrassed about. It's a health issue, plain and simple. And once you start seeing it that way, you can actually start looking for a real solution.
And that shift in perspective is everything, isn't it? Moving it from a personal failure to a medical problem. It's about removing that stigma. So, with that in mind, let's look at what the source says is physically causing this issue in the first place.
Okay, so what's really going on here? According to the source, the science is actually pretty straightforward. It all boils down to the connection between two things, the health of your nerves and the flow of your blood. Now, this is a brilliant way to simplify it. It's a basic fact, but one we might forget. There are no bones, so all of its strength, all of its firmness comes from one thing and one thing only, blood flowing in and staying there. It's all about hydraulic pressure.
So here's the bottom line. The argument is that things like stress, a bad diet, maybe some old habits, they can actually damage the nerves in that area. And when those nerves get weak, they can't hold on to the blood that's rushing in. The blood just can't stay trapped. And that's what leads to the softness and the performance issues.
So if the problem is weakened nerves and poor blood flow, what's the fix? Well, the source suggests a really direct, hands-on solution. And it all centers on a mixture of two very common items you might already have in your kitchen, coconut oil and clove oil.
And this is where it gets really interesting because you see why you need both oils. They have totally different jobs. The coconut oil is the base. It's cool, it's soothing, it makes the massage possible. But the clove oil, that's the catalyst. It's described as hot and powerful, the miracle ingredient that actually gets the blood moving.
So what's the secret weapon inside the clove oil? Well, it all comes down to this one powerful compound called Eugenol. This is the stuff that, according to the source, creates that heat, gets rid of any numbness, and most importantly, really cranks up the blood circulation right where you apply it. I love this quote because it just perfectly explains how they work together as a team. See, clove oil by itself is way too intense for sensitive skin. But the coconut oil acts as this perfect carrier. It dials down that intense heat, but carries all that power from the eugenol deep into the tissue where it needs to go.
All right, this next part is maybe the most important section of this whole thing. Exactly how to make it and how to apply it. According to the source, if you get this wrong, it's not going to work and you could even cause some irritation. So the details here are absolutely vital.
Now you gotta pay close attention to the recipe here. The ratio is super specific for a reason. It's 2 spoons of coconut oil to just 4 or 5 drops of clove oil. And they really stress this point. Do not use more than 5 drops. The goal is to make it effective, not to burn your skin.
Okay, now for how to actually apply it. And again, the details are critical. Notice that huge warning. You apply it only to the top and the sides. You have to avoid the tip and the underside where the skin is most sensitive. Then it's just a gentle massage for a few minutes until it's absorbed and you leave it on overnight.
So when you put this on, you should feel something. A little bit of warmth, a very mild tingle, and that's your proof. That's how you know the eugenol is doing its job, waking up those nerve endings and getting the blood flowing. If you feel intense burning, you probably use too much clove oil. Okay, so you've followed all the steps, you've done everything right. What happens next? What kind of results does the source actually promise? And, just as important, what's the final big warning you absolutely need to know?
And yeah, the claim here is pretty huge. We're talking about going from just 2 minutes to potentially 20 or even 25 minutes. That's a massive, transformative jump in stamina, and it's presented as the main payoff for getting that blood flow and nerve health back on track.
And listen to the language the source uses to describe the final result. It's not subtle at all. It's about more than just time. It's about firmness, about strength, promising a total transformation that leads directly to your partner's satisfaction.
And that brings us to our final slide. And honestly, the most important things to remember out of all of this. The source says you could see results in just 3 days. But, and this is non-negotiable, before you do anything else, you must do a patch test on your hand or arm. Clove oil is potent, and you have to check for an allergic reaction first. So, while this is all presented as a powerful home remedy, it's just a great reminder that you have to be careful and do your own research. And as always, talk to a medical professional before you try any new treatment.